people will decide. Disappointed, not discouraged. The people will decide. Disappointed, not discouraged. The people will decide.
Last week, New York's most powerful partisan machine, also known as the Democratic Party, got worried that the public dialogue on nonpartisan elections might be persuading the Charter Revision Commission to put the question to the voters this November. Surely, the Citizen Union's strong endorsement of a top-two system and the issue's growing popularity in the Black and Latino community put the partisans on edge. So, a group of Democratic Party office holders gathered on these steps to condemn nonpartisan elections and to misinform the public about the impact of this critical reform. Not a soul mentioned the fact that the reason why we need a nonpartisan system is that New York City has nearly 1 million independent voters, the majority of whom are Black, Latino, and Asian, who are locked out of the decisive first round of voting. That is what some like to call an inconvenient truth. There were some choice remarks made at that press conference, such as partisan elections is what New York City stands for, and nonpartisan elections are un-American. If that were true, then we'd have to classify Chicago, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Dallas, Boston, Miami, Detroit, Seattle, Nashville, Denver, and Houston as un-American cities. And over the weekend, we finally saw how dedicated the Democratic Party is to holding on to its complete authority over the politics of New York City, because Reverend Al Sharpton, an independent thinker who called for serious consideration of nonpartisan elections, was persuaded to come back to the party fold. It is a shame, I think, that Reverend Sharpton missed this opportunity to do something so important for the cause of voting rights. But we recognize that reforming a partisan system that is controlled by the political parties is a long-term project. It took the voters of California 14 years of continuous political work and voter education to finally install a statewide top-two system there. And we will continue to work for as long as it takes to bring nonpartisan reform to our city. The media has reported that Mayor Bloomberg has decided not to ask the Charter Revision Commission to put nonpartisan elections before the voters this year. We are disappointed, of course, but we're not discouraged. As more and more younger voters of all races and ethnic groups come of age and want to be able to participate in the process without having to sign on a party's dotted line, the demand to realign our electoral system will grow. Our job is to keep expanding the public dialogue and the power of the independent movement.
Thank you, Dr. Fulani, for your leadership. Nonpartisan elections are about improving the quality of our democracy, and that is as American as apple pie. Democracy is an issue that has been at the heart of our nation for 250 years. We've moved forward from a system where only white male property owners could vote, through the enfranchisement of all men, regardless of color or history of servitude, to women's suffrage, to lowering the voting age from 21 to 18. To be American is to be concerned with the constant redefinition and expansion of the electorate. Nonpartisan elections simply admit the nearly 1 million independent voters in this city to the first round of voting. The words political parties do not appear anywhere in the U.S. Constitution. Partisan elections are not mandated by the Constitution. We must put nonpartisan elections on the ballot and let the people decide.
Many Democratic Party leaders have said voters in our communities need a cue. They need a roadmap in order to be able to vote, and party labels provide that. Aside from the fact people in the Black and Latino communities aren't stupid, the proposal under consideration by the Charter Revision Commission and what we are supporting allows candidates to list their party affiliation on the ballot. What the elected officials are saying is not true. Voters will be able to identify if a candidate is a Democrat, a Republican, or an independent. Thank you.
I'm a resident of Brooklyn, Fort Greene section, so I wanted just to respond to what my city councilman, Letitia James, said, that nonpartisan elections would deny people of color and people who speak a different language. Pues está bien equivocada. She is really wrong. Who gets denied are the 50% of the independents who are people of color. In a city that's majority minority, she misses that point. Immigrants, people of color, are citizens, residents who register to vote, want to vote, but do not want to be a part of a party. They want to vote for the candidate, not a party. Thank you.
I'm from Brooklyn, Brownsville, East New York, and I don't understand why elected officials want to have private elections that exclude 1.5 million registered American voters like myself from participating in the entire election process. This is not democracy. It is anti-democratic. There should not be two classes of voters in New York City. The first class being the prime Democratic Party voters whose turnout in the last city council races was 6% of all voters, and then the second class of voters is everyone else. In Brooklyn in 2009, 82,211 Democrats voted for city council candidates in the Democratic Party primary. That was 8.4% of Democrats and only 6.1% of all voters in Kings County. In every single case, the winner of the Democratic primary faced an uncompetitive election in the fall. The partisan system of election leaves out 250,000 voters in Brooklyn who are not registered in a party. We need nonpartisan on the ballot. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Brian Puertas. I'm from Queens and I'm 26 years old.
Yay.
I testified before the Charter Revision Commission on 2 occasions. I presented them with an open letter at the April 20th hearing bearing the signatures of 1,084 New York City residents under the age of 30. The letter spelled out that 25% of independents in New York City are under the age of 30, and the majority are people of color. The signatures were gathered in 1 week's time at high schools and college campuses in all 5 boroughs. It says, in part, we do not have the same level of commitment or connection to political parties that many in older generations do. Increasingly, we identify as independents and do not feel we should be excluded from the first and often critical round of primary voting. The elected officials who spoke out last week against nonpartisan elections are out of touch with what's going on among young people. That's bad for democracy. Young people want to be independent, and we want our votes to count just as much as any other voter. Thank you.
Thank you.
The people will decide. Disappointed, not discouraged. The people will decide. Disappointed, not discouraged. The people will decide.